Good morning, Stephen Bayfield. Good morning,
Stephen.
Stephen.
Mark.
Good morning.
To you.
What a beautiful day. What a beautiful day to be an Ipswich Town fan. Sorry.
Can I just say one thing before you go on away?
Yeah, go on. Yep.
I want to share a bit of good news, if you don't mind.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. This weekend, my wife Barbara and I celebrate our golden wedding. What do you think of that?
Congratulations.
50 years we've been
Marvellous.
together. And do you know what? These last few months have been the toughest of our married life.
Really?
She, poor girl, she's been quite depressed. And she wouldn't even go out shopping, you know. No,
Blimey.
She wouldn't leave the house. But she's got over it now, and do you know how she's done it? And I
How
must just tell
has
you,
she
this
done
little
it?
tip for all of us. When she goes out to shop, she's made herself a badge, a big sort of brown cardboard badge she wears. She says, because people don't always understand, do they? You know what you're going through.
No.
And she's on this badge, and I think that's very, very, very good of her. I mean, she's put a lot of thought into it. Don't judge me too harshly, it says. I'm married to an Ipswich Town supporter. See where she's coming from, can't you?
Well, we should get some car stickers made, I think, the way things are at the moment. Let's bring in Wayne Burns. Good morning, Wayne.
Good morning, Mark. How are you?
Very well. Do you support Ipswich Town, Wayne?
I don't follow football, if I'm
Do you know
totally
what?
honest.
I wish I was you today. I wish I was you at the moment where it didn't matter and I didn't care how the town did. But Stephen, It hurts, doesn't it?
It does hurt. Very painful, and it was last night. Luckily I didn't have to pay for watching it last night. You know, it was on Sky, wasn't it?
Yes.
So, but that was just as depressing.
Do you know what we're going to do tomorrow? We're going to do what I think will be a public service broadcast for every Ipswich Town supporter. Tomorrow we do Throwback Thursday, and tomorrow Throwback Thursday is going to be, do you remember when Ipswich Town were good?
God,
That's Throwback Thursday tomorrow.
For us older ones, that is the trouble. We do.
I know. It's 20 years odd now, isn't it, since we got promoted last to the Premier League. So there was somebody who tweeted me earlier on saying, I've never even seen Town get promoted. Dreadful. No. Anyway, let's leave that for tomorrow. We're going to brighten the mood tomorrow. And how are things in Leiston this morning, Wayne? How are things your way?
Yeah, not too bad. I mean, we're quite lucky here. We skip the snow and so on. Life goes on, and you know it's the same everywhere, isn't it? Quite frankly,
yes.
It's all getting a bit boring now.
All days merge into one.
And normally January for me it's Panto. So we're busy getting ready. Then we do it. Then we're breaking it all apart, and the month goes. But my God, this month has dragged. Yes,
it's when Stephen says, Stephen, people say to you, what are you doing at the weekend? Well,
that's right.
Well, that's right. For us this weekend, we're moving.
Are you?
Well, Friday, we bought a house up in Sheringham. We're going to Norfolk.
Blimey.
Don't say it too loudly. So we've got that to face this weekend, and this week we've been loading up. I've got a box trailer. I've been loading up with bits and pieces to take up there. So it's going to be quite a full-on weekend. What we're celebrating our golden wedding in a low-key way, of course.
Yeah, you'll be doing some missionary work up there then for us, won't you?
Yeah. I mean, I don't tell anybody up there that we're town supporters because they're gloating at the moment, aren't they?
They are indeed. Let's get on to some grumps to start with. And we'll begin with you, Wayne, because headlines is something that you want to talk about today. Not our headlines, I hope, but headlines in papers, magazines, online.
Yes. Now, I don't want any ladies getting upset this morning, but a few weeks ago, during my morning routine, shall we say, I sat on the throne, and Mandy had left some of her magazines in there on the little chair that we have, not so people can come and watch, but just because it's handy.
Yes.
And I started flicking through them, and I've never seen such a pile of old tat in all my life. Headlines that make you think, oh, and you start to read it only to think, well, why are you wasting the print on there? Headlines like, as an example, I couldn't get out of the freezer. And that's a whole 2-page story about a reoccurring dream that someone's been having, where they're in the freezer. They've been shut in this freezer night after night, and they can't get out. Here's another one. He didn't talk to me because I didn't do the washing up. Who cares? When you read through all this stuff, I mean, I've got some examples here, right, Mark? This is just one magazine that I'm flicking through here.
Yep.
We've got my fiance ran off and married my mum. We've got
This is not the Leiston Chronicle you're reading, is it?
No, it's not. No,
Okay.
no. Is being noisy before 9 a.m. rude to your neighbours? This is the important pressing matters of the day. How traditional are you at home? Here we go. I turned from funfair flab into fab. What else we got? Here's another one. I was saved by the bath. And so you flick through it, and I mean, let's just say it sped up my duties in the toilet.
Yes, you didn't hang around long. Yes.
No, I didn't.
Yes,
no. And
no.
I mean, she buys them on a regular basis, and lots of lovely ladies do. And I just think they're full of old tat.
Yeah.
I agree.
So, go on,
The
Stephen.
famous one, though, just interrupting here, the famous one I always remember is Freddie Starr ate my hamster. Do you remember that one?
It's on the front of the Sun. I think it was 1986.
Was it?
Yes.
But one I do remember, and I've seen it recently, actually, and it reminded me, hearing about you sitting on the throne reading these things, the headlines were, Large Poo Blocks Sewer. And you look further down and there's a picture of a bear, a big yellow bear. It was Pooh Bear.
Yeah.
So
Well, there's an art to being a headline writer, and I know there are lots of ex-East Anglian Daily Times employees here, I'm sure, listening to this show, who might want to comment about coming up with a headline to go with the story, because I think that really is an art in its own right, really, to kind of grab your attention. It's like the people who write the billboards for the local paper, you know, and they'll plaster something on there, and you think, I've got to go in and buy that. I think there's a real art to that. And so no one was hurt in a freezer, Wayne. It was just a dream.
It was a 2-page spread all about a reoccurring dream that this person had and night after night, that they were, I mean, obviously it means something, of course it does. So they were shut in this freezer night after night. And I don't think it even said what the outcome was, whether or not they got out of the freezer in the end or not. They could still be in there.
I always remember one. Do you remember this bird flu when that first came out?
Yes.
You first got this bird flu. And I always remember that one of the headlines said, scientists to kill ducks to see why they're dying.
Here's a good one. I'm dating a detective. I had no idea. No, you weren't. He's a detective.
So it's clickbait, really, isn't it? And the phrase is so that you look at it, the headline grabs you and draws you in, doesn't it, really?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then you feel a fool for reading it, don't you?
Well, I'm going to give you a really good example now. I've got my phone here in front of me, okay? It's turned off. Well, it's not turned off. It's turned to silent. So I bet you if I go on to my Google search, it comes up with headline stories, okay? And I guarantee there will be a story, and I'm not looking, I promise you, and I haven't looked, so I'm going to try this out. I'm very confident this will be the case, that there will be a headline story from the Daily Express about it snowing. Okay? Are you ready? Let me have a look. So we're on. It's the top search. Snow forecast. Chart shows wall of snow sweeping across the UK in big event before -7 freeze. So every single day at the moment, the Daily Express, because they know that I'm going to click on it. They know that I'm going to want to read that because I like snow, and I think, well, what will that mean for us? And then you go into the detail and you find it's on top of a mountain.
That's right.
It's not here at all. So they just want me to click onto the page.
Yeah, I mean, there's always snow on tops of mountains, aren't there?
There is.
It's a bit like saying, man found dead in graveyard.
And we've got Charles in Ipswich now, who's also a grumpy old git. Morning, Charles.
Morning, Mark.
Good morning. What are you grumpy about, Charles?
We're sort of continuing from a couple of weeks ago when you were talking about TV. And one of the things that really irritates me a lot now is when you're sort of watching a drama and they keep leapfrogging from one sort of time period to another. So you start off, you're watching, and the first 5 minutes is sort of the present time. Then it jumps to sort of 10 years later or 10 years earlier, and it can't seem to keep in chronological order right through the whole drama, if you know what I mean.
That is a trend now, isn't it, it seems?
Yeah, I mean, I was watching The Serpent, and although they did sort of warn you when they're going backwards and forwards the whole time, I just felt that whole sort of programme could have been put sort of from start to finish, if you know what I mean.
So rather than jumping from era to era, just do it in a linear way and tell the story.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Wayne, you're in the entertainment business as a cinema manager in Leiston. Do you like that style of broadcasting or not?
I think in certain contexts, yes. But I tell you what we had an experience with this, because we started watching. I haven't done a lot of this. I'm not into Netflix, but we have it now. We started watching The Crown.
Yes.
And we got addicted to it, quite frankly. And we would sit and watch two or three every night. And the famous thing was, it would always, often with those programs, they would start and either flashback or go back, which would be relevant to the story they were about to tell. And I just got fed up with my Mandy said, "We've watched this one." And I said, no, we haven't. No, we've watched this one. And she'd actually switch it off and go to the next one. I haven't seen it. No, we haven't seen the other one yet. Go back. So I know exactly where he's coming from, because it does get confusing.
So this is the recap at the beginning for you then, Wayne, when they're recapping it, or for Mandy. She sees that.
Sometimes a recap, and other times it was something that happened to perhaps the Queen or Charles many years ago, which is relevant to the story they're about to tell. And it was just that even I would sit there and I'd say, "Have we watched this?" "Oh yeah, we've seen this. We've seen this." So on many occasions the episode was sort of started 3-4 times just to see if it was the right one.
What do you make of those kind of shows, Stephen? Have you seen that, where they jump around a bit?
Yeah, and I find you can soon lose interest, can't you? You know, they do that backwards and forwards. And, you know, I'd rather watch one of Wayne's pantomimes, I think, sometimes, than watch one of those bloody shows.
Crikey, is it that bad?
Yeah, well, exactly.
So kind.
It's, so, Charles, you'd just like them to go back to the old-fashioned way of telling a story?
Yeah, I mean, like you say, there are some sort of dramas where you do sort of need to know the plot or the secret, so it sort of jumps back, you know, sort of near the end of the program or something like that. But there just seems an obsession now of this leapfrogging.
Yeah, I do know what you mean. They've done that in quite a few series that I've seen recently, and if it's not done really, really well, it is so difficult to follow, isn't it? And it's a bit challenging, and frankly, we don't need challenging at the moment, do we?
No, we just need a bit of comfort, really.
Yeah, we just need Murder, She Wrote. That was quite straightforward, wasn't it? We should all watch that again. Charles, thank you very much. And Stephen, you've got a new car, but you're not happy.
No, I'm a bit disappointed, you know. I was due for a change for my car, and my wife's got one of these SUVs that she's been very pleased with, and she wouldn't dream of me selling it. She's had it for 4 years. And I thought, well, it's a good car. I'll have one the same. Mm-hmm. And I got one the same, or ordered one the same. But before I did, I looked in the brochure, because this is the new model, the 2021 model.
Okay.
But basically, all it is one that's been revamped. You know, put a few bits of extra chrome on it.
Yeah, nice.
That kind of. It's got two twin exhausts on, but they're not real exhausts. That sort of thing. You know, the exhaust still comes out underneath. But I looked in the catalogue first to make sure I was getting what I wanted. And and it's exciting, isn't it, when you go and pick up your car?
Oh, it's lovely.
Brand new car. And one of the features I like in her car that I was going to get in this one was having you could fold the seats down, you have a lovely flat loading space, so if you want to slide a big box in there, a fridge or something, you just put it in on the back and just slide it forward. Great. So I picked the car up, and it all looks lovely, you know how they do, and they're brand new, shiny and everything, and brought it home, and, you know, we've got a dog.
Yep.
And the first thing I done when I got it home, I parked it up, and I opened the back door, called the dog over, and the dog jumped in the back like it always does in the wife's car, and it disappeared.
Oh.
And I looked, and it hadn't got a boot floor. There was no floor in the boot. And, you know, under the floor in these cars, they put the spare wheel.
Yes, always traditionally in the boot, the spare wheel would go, yes.
Well, they haven't got a spare wheel either. And so I immediately got on the phone to the dealer, and I said, so they made this car wrong. He said, what do you mean made it wrong? I said, well, it hasn't got a spare wheel for a start. No, he said, you've got a kit in there. He said, it's a pump, he said, and some fluid you put in the tyre. He said, if you get a puncture, and that seals the hole up. Well, I've had one of those before, and they're ridiculous things. Have you ever had one?
I've never used one, but I've had one in the car.
Oh, I have. I had a car once before. I got a puncture. I put it in, pumped the tyre up. I was on the A47, going up to Norfolk.
Yeah.
And as fast as the air was going in, it was coming out the back, and so too was all this horrible green sludgy stuff. And so I had to ring up and get someone out. It took 2 hours to get home.
So you've got the stuff in a tube, and you've got the space for a spare wheel, But there's no spare wheel?
No spare wheel.
Just a hole?
And apparently, according to the dealer, they don't put the floors in now. And he said, but you didn't ask for a floor. I said, well, I didn't ask for rear seats or a steering wheel, I said, but I expected to have them. And he got a bit funny at that stage. So anyway, I get on about this. In the end, to give the dealers credit, they're ordering me a floor from Germany.
Right,
with all the bits and pieces that go with it. I'm going to put it in as an add-on.
How bizarre.
Isn't it?
How bizarre.
And I even spoke direct to the manufacturers, and they didn't seem to want to know. And they said, read the small print, sir. We can change the specification at any time. Yeah, so you never know what you're going to get when you order a new car now.
Well,
so
I thought at least they'd have put the floor in so the poor old dog didn't fall down the hole.
Well, no, that's right. That was quite a big hole, too. It must have been at least 6 inches, like a well.
I wonder if others have got examples of using that tyre thing to fix a puncture. To see how it works. It's also like those little silly mini wheels you get as well, little micro wheels. Why not just have a real one there? I just don't understand that. That's definitely on our Grumpy Old Gits manifesto to get sorted out, that one. Anthony's been in touch as well. It's actually his wife's comment here. Wants to have a bit of a grump about people who put signs up all over town advertising forthcoming events and don't take them down afterwards. He's naming and shaming as well today. Naming and shaming as seen on daily walks in Bury St Edmunds at the present. Our Bury St Edmunds wishing us a happy Christmas. And Ravenwood Hall, that's the town centre manager team, the bid, and Ravenwood Hall inviting us to their Christmas fair. Actually, not a grumpy old man, it's from my grumpy old wife, says Anthony. But you see that sometimes when the circus comes to town, don't you? They'll plaster posters up everywhere. How they get them into some places, I do not know. And they just seem to be there forever.
You're quite right. They're always keen to put them up, aren't they?
Yeah.
But never very keen to take them down. This happens even out here in the sticks, in the villages and that. We have stuff stuck on telegraph posts and things, and they're there for months after the event. And it makes the place look so untidy, and eventually they sort of blow about, they start blowing about.
So come on, Ravenwood Hall and our Bury St Edmunds, pull your posters down, unless, of course, it's advertising early for next year. Wayne, photograph filters. Now, there was a time when we used to say the camera never lies.
Yeah, I know, and this is another thing that seems to not be getting out of hand, but is used so often now, and I find it confusing, quite frankly. You look at, you're scrolling through Facebook at the night. We don't talk at night. We just scroll. There's my Mandy up one end of the couch, me up the other, and we're scrolling ever so often. We'll talk just to show something on the phone, and very often it's, oh, she's lost weight, and you think, blimey, she has. Yeah, she really has. And then you'll see that person a couple of days later on the street, and she's lost no weight at all. And then you'll see another one there, and gosh, she's looking really good. Or he is looking really good, but it's a filter. They look like a porcelain doll, or they look younger. And most famously, I had a chap, obviously before we were all locked down and everything. He was one of these sites where you swipe right, and he'd arranged to meet someone, and when he turned up to see them, they looked so pig awful, he came home. He said the pictures had all been filtered or photoshopped.
Oh dear!
He said, you won't believe it. He said, I walked in and I thought, that can't be. And he said, I came straight home. So yes, I don't see why anyone. I'm all for people looking nice, making the effort and so on. But we are what we are, and I just think, if you're going to put a picture out there, then show it for what it is, because. Otherwise, we are looking at these people and thinking, blimey, they look good or they've lost weight, and it's a real big disappointment when you meet them.
Mind you, I think, Wayne, people do need a little bit of enhancement. We've all been in lockdown. We haven't been to the hairdressers or the dentists. We're unshaven, and that's just the women. I think that it does cheer people up to look good, doesn't it? Even if it's only online. But I
think it's sad. I think it's sad when people have to do that. Just be who you are. Just be honest and true as to who you are. That's what I would say.
Some of them look like aliens. You look at it and you think, which planet are these people from? Because their eyes are all bulging, and some of them got the lips on it. They can enhance.
What filters are you looking at?
You know,
The
and
trouble is,
it's
Mark,
like you-
people who talk like you, be who you are people like you and me, who've gone to seed a bit.
Yeah, harsh but fair. Harsh but fair. Eric in Stowmarket's just been on. Think yourself lucky, Stephen. Talking about new cars. In the Sun on Sunday, it said you can buy the new MG SUV. It has roof bars, and I quote, for ornamental use only. You can't actually strap your canoe on; they're just for show. Brenda has been in touch with us. She says, "I'm not happy about people calling the Duchess of Cambridge Kate. Her name is Catherine. She introduces herself as Catherine. So does William. The media are the worst. Nobody has the right to shorten her name. So come on, show some respect. She's a wonderful member of the royal family," says Brenda. Well, I did mention early this morning that there was a picture of her in the paper next to Her Majesty, and I did call her Kate. But, sorry, Brenda, I am one of those mainstream media culprits who's mainstream media who's got it wrong. I do humbly apologise. What else have we got coming in here? Oh, there's loads. Look at these. This is from Martin. He says, "I'm fed up of seeing people exercising. People go around who have never even walked to the shops before. They're now dressed in badly fitting sports gear, crimson faces, gulping for breath as they try to bend and lace up overpriced running shoes that within a month will be in a bin bag on a charity shop step. Don't do it, Ethel. Save your money and subscribe to Netflix," says Martin.
But it's all right, because they can take a picture when they get home, filter it, and they'll look fantastic.
Of course they can. Good morning, Colin.
Good morning.
Good morning. What's about driving that winds you up?
Well, I'm just wondering, if people actually have any sense at all, if they think that side lights are any use. I mean, you in these dim days, you have vehicles coming towards you with the headlights on. You can see the headlights, then you can see the car, and then you find one with no lights on. You can see the car, and then you think, oh, he's got side lights on. I wonder what that person's thinking.
This obviously gets you, does it?
Just a tad.
Yeah,
just a tad. I mean, when you see the vehicle before you see the light, I think there's a certain amount of...
Do you think it's because a lot of cars today have automatic lights and they'll only come on under certain conditions?
Well, the ones with marker lights, you do tend to see, though what people don't realise with marker lights is that it doesn't put on the rear lights, which is a bit of a problem. I mean, the old Volvos used to have marker lights front and rear, which I thought was good. But no, the automatic lights are a bit of a problem in that people think, oh, it's got automatic lights, the lights will automatically come on. Well, they'll only automatically come on if it's if it's dim and the light itself is low. If it's foggy or misty or whatever, if there's a certain amount of brightness, the headlights won't come on.
Mm. That's a message to everybody with automatic on their car, automatic lights, because when it's foggy and misty and stuff like that, we get loads of calls from people saying, put your lights on, and I suspect that's probably the reason. You also have an issue about people not indicating.
Yes. I'm not one of these people who says that if you've got an Audi or a Merc or whatever, BMW, they have indicators fitted as an extra.
Ooh.
It's not that. It is that people seem to think to themselves, well, okay, I know where I'm going, but I'm not going to tell anybody else. I mean, if you don't know where people are going, what are you supposed to do as to try to avoid them? It really beggars belief, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I seem to remember on this programme many years ago we had lots of people complaining about people not using indicators, so we created what we called at the time Winkers Wednesday for everybody to get their winkers going, and it was a very successful day, Winkers Wednesday. There were lots of people who hadn't used their winkers before that did on Winkers Wednesday, and it's Wednesday today, so maybe, Colin, we ought to have Winkers Wednesday back today.
It might be a good idea. The main thing about this is that when a lot of people drive, they just drive to get from one place to another, and they are unaware of what they're actually doing. I mean, how many times do people get to somewhere and say, "Oh, I don't actually remember driving here." We drive on automatic pilot, which is a bit of a problem.
Okay. Colin, thank you very much. What do you think about that one, Stephen? Should we have Winkers Wednesday, do you think?
Well, yeah, I mean, you kind of want to think yourself lucky we aren't in the old days when we had those semaphores that stuck out the side. Do you remember those?
I do.
Nobody from the rear could hardly see.
Like on the old Maury Miners, weren't they?
Yeah,
They'd pop
that's
out.
right. And they weren't all self-cancelling either, so they were stuck out there for weeks sometimes, and nobody ever noticed. But going back to his lights, I quite agree with what he says about lights. My cars have got auto lights on, so the side lights come on automatically. But the thing that gets me sometimes is the auto dip. It's got an auto dip on it, but there's often quite a delay, so cars approaching are often dazzled before the thing triggers.
You shouldn't have such a fancy car.
That's the trouble,
Yes,
isn't it?
I still have to do hand signals out of mine. You're too young to remember hand signals, Wayne, I'm sure.
Absolutely, but I do
All right.
wink most days as I
Do
go
you?
round the as roundabout. I'll tell you something. It's a little story for you, right? Very quickly. I was at a roundabout one day, and this car came. I thought he was going straight ahead, so I started to pull out because I was going left. But no, he was going right. So I got the normal symbol as they go past. You know, I don't think he was waving, and I got the horn, and so followed. He went down, and I followed. He pulled into a garage, so I just pulled in as well. Pulled up ahead of him, and as he got out, I said, "I'm sorry, mate." I said, "Just to let you know, your indicators aren't working." and so he got back in the car and put them on. He said, "Yes, they are. So you should try using them then." and I'm very lucky I didn't get a slap in the face for that.
You're a brave man.
With that, I got in the car and off I went.
You're a brave man.
I remember that black eye you had.
Derek's been in touch in Witnesham. I fully agree when it comes to spare wheels that you were talking about earlier on. You have to pay extra for a spare wheel these days. The tyre sealant may be okay for a very small puncture, but if you've got a big gash, useless, apparently, says Derek. And on that subject, we've got Ali, who's a taxi driver in Ipswich, who's got in touch with us. Hi, Ali. Good morning.
Morning, Mark. Good to hear from you, man.
And you as well. What do you think of these puncture repair things rather than having a spare wheel?
Useless. These manufacturers get their head screwed on, really. I had a Skoda going back a while, one of the hard vehicles, and I didn't realise I didn't have a spare tyre because always, when I have the breakdown, I'll ring my breakdown recovery service and they fix the car on the road, and off I go with my spare tyre if need be. And I rang one up, felt silly because they came down, we couldn't find a spare tyre anywhere. And then he found this box and said, "Do you know how to use it?" I go, "No." He goes, "Well, that's what modern cars use, these, electrical air pump things." So he showed me how to use it. I used it, but to get home I had to stop a couple of times because the air keeps coming out and the deflates the tyre because obviously the hole must have been slightly bigger than normal. And so I did it a few times. It was so annoying. And I got home and I thought, I ain't ever going to buy a car that doesn't have a spare tyre. Another time what happened, I had an accident. Someone hit me from behind. An AA person, recovery person came and they had to use their own tyre to put on.
Really? To
get me home and then take his spare wheel away with him because obviously you can't let me have his.
Yeah.
So I was stuck in my house and then I had to ring up a garage to come specially to pick up the vehicle because I couldn't drive it to them because I had no spare tyre. So that's a carbon footprint all over, really. So I'm thinking these manufacturers, what do they think when they come up with these weird ideas? They look at,
so when we have the Grumpy Old Gits political party, we should, on our manifesto, have that every vehicle should have a proper good, old-fashioned, Ali, spare wheel.
Or before they sell them, tell them that, we're one of these, vehicles that ain't got a spare tyre, and then they'll turn around and won't buy it. I mean, somebody with common sense will say, no, I ain't going to buy the car, I ain't got a spare tyre. That'll teach the manufacturers a lesson.
It's progress, mate. Ali, it's progress.
The other annoying thing, if I can just chip in,
of course,
is once you've used that stuff, that fluid, that horrible stuff you put in, that renders the tyre useless. You have to replace the tyre then.
Yeah.
That's the daft thing about it all.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I never had that stuff. I just had the electrical pump thing, but I had no sealant. So, I can seal it up.
And that stuff is all right if you've got a tiny hole. If you've got a big hole, that just comes straight at the back again.
So if you've got a tiny little puncture, and you could then take it to a tyre repair place and get it fixed, you couldn't if you'd used this stuff.
The biggest hole I think you can have is 5 mil. Anything bigger than that is no good.
No good, yeah.
You're supposed to ring up your recovery service, which I did when I got a puncture. It took them 2 hours to get there, and they wanted to put the car on the back of the lorry, and take it to the main dealers, which was miles and miles away. So it's a pretty useless system, really, to be honest.
Progress, eh? We could just, back in the day, you'd get your jack out, you'd take your wheel off, you'd change it, and off you go again. That's
right.
progress. Ali, thank you very much.
Good old days, yes.
Yeah, happy days, mate. Thank you very much for getting in touch. White Van Man Bob has just dropped us a text. The problem with some auto side lights is the rear lights, as we said, don't come on, just the front. So you could be driving thinking you're lighting everything up, but only from the front. People won't be able to see you from behind. And one final one from Tim, who's been in touch. And I don't know what to do here, boys, because I've got an automatic car. Tim says, what annoys me is people that leave their foot on the brake when they're stopped at traffic lights instead of using the handbrake, thus blinding the driver behind them, and I've been reliably informed has triggered migraine headaches. Also, inappropriate use of front and rear fog lights, which are only meant to be on when visibility is less than 100 metres, not just a light mist or because it's raining. What did you do if you've got an automatic car, though?
I don't know. That's a very good question. And talking of mist, there's a lot of mist at Felixstowe at the moment. It's rolling in from the sea, Brian. Brian has phoned and told me.
Blimey. OK, I better put my fog lights on when I go home
Exactly.
then. But only when I get home. Look, Wayne, Stephen, we're out of time. Thank you so much for your grumps today. And,
We've enjoyed it.
Lovely to have you both on. And good luck with the move. And happy anniversary, Stephen, for the weekend.
Oh, thank you very much, Mark.
And Wayne, we'll talk to you very soon, I hope.
Yes, lovely. Thanks, Mark.
Okay.
Cheers, Steve.
Yeah, cheers, Wayne.